All right. So basically, we are in entrepreneurship, and what we are trying to do is to see that it gets us to start our own business idea. That is the key, to come up with ideas that can help us to solve the problems that are happening in our communities. This thing is disturbing me. All right, so this is the kind of thought. Before going through this lesson, I want you to ask yourself, I don't know if you attempted to do the self-assessment, which I posted. Did any of you attempt?
Yeah, you.
If you didn't, it is important you attempt that self-entrepreneur assessment to see where you stand, okay? So basically, this is asking yourself, are you hardworking? Are you smart? When we say smart, it is not just a matter of smart in dressing, but want to see how smart you are when it comes to thinking strategically in relation to what entrepreneurship is all about. Are you creative? Are you willing to take risks and good? Are you good at working with people? Because these are very key in relation to what it means to build your rapport, or to build your relationship, or to get your ideas in relation to what needs to be done for you to establish your what? Your business. So in all those kind of questions, there are other questions that you can put. Please mute. If the answer is yes, then take heart. That means you are in the right seat. That means you are ready to tap into what you already have and be able to move it further. So that will help you if you're hardworking, if you're creative and willing to take risks, to stay motivated. And for those of you who are not there, this is a time for you to develop some of the skills that are required for people who are in business, for people who are not just managers, for people who are not just looking for jobs, but for people who can do things differently and become the spearhead of the changes or the development or the new creation into the business world. So this is what it is all about. So in this aspect, when we talk about this class, we're on the road to entrepreneurship, the ultimate career in capitalism, in which you put your idea to work in a competitive economy. When we talk about the competitive economy, even you need to start looking at who is next to you. Now you are seated apart because you are all in your own comfortable, maybe living room or in your car or whatever. But the key is, what are your long-term goals? What are you striving for? What is it that motivating you day in and out to keep doing what you are doing? If you are doing the job, maybe you are trying to see that you become the best manager that you want to be. And if you are looking to get the autonomy, the independence, the capital to develop yourself in the future, maybe that is where you need to look at to see who is else doing it and how best you can do it. Please, class, I expect the best behavior. So if you know you are not talking, help me not to disturb my thinking. Just keep yourself in a mute aspect, okay? And I'll ask the class rep, please, Mirembe and Muchibi, help your neighbors to know the expectations of this class. If you have a cell phone and you need to talk, please do it in a way which does not disturb the class, to respect others and to be able to help us remain focused. I hope this is the last time I'm saying this, because my thinking is strategic, and once disturbed, you shut off and I will close off. So help me to keep that momentum going. I appreciate. Because if I mention your name, it will be humiliating at this level when I say, please, madam. Okay, thank you. Leonard, tell me, if you are sharing the computer, it is high time you tell whoever is talking, watch out. Nakelo Sharita, please mute. Thank you. All right, so we have already asked ourselves where we stand, and now we are going deeper. So as we go deeper, we are trying to say an entrepreneur is a person, this is a wrap back. An entrepreneur is a person who identifies a business opportunity, harnesses and obtains the resources necessary to initiate, operate, and run a business. When we are talking about that kind of thing, I want you to look at somebody whom you know, who is in that category, who identifies opportunity. And last time you remember we said that the opportunity comes when there is need, when there is demand, when there is a problem, or when there is scarcity. So what they're telling us here, if you look at an entrepreneur or a person who is in that category, they play a very significant role in the socio-economic development of our country or in our lives. That's what you have to think about. This is kind of a wrapping back on what we discussed last time. Still further, when you think about entrepreneurship, it does not mean seeking to conventional business. It implies creating new things. Emphasis on that is not merely on idea generation, but also on promotion and implementation of the new business environment. So what does that mean? Entrepreneurship is about multi-diversified field. It is like one who begins or who designs and creates his or her own boat and then escape in it. How would it be if you are the one who designs your pot and again you are trying to use that pot and someone says, "Ooh, I like that kind of pot. Can you make one for me?" There you have already created the demand and opened up the market for you to tap into and be able to gain profit. So it is about identifying new ideas, creation, and development. And above all, it is solving people's problems and community problems in unique ways. So when we are thinking about that, you have to focus on entrepreneurship in the way of creativity and innovation. It's not on the conventional business. What are those conventional businesses that you see? Can you name some of the businesses that you see, which we can turn round through our creativity and innovation? And when you think about it, how different can you redesign or operate that business? Can you help me get to know what you see outside there, please? Class?
Yeah, like we still see now our post office is getting somehow extinct because the use of letters is somehow out of date. So when we still have the post office buildings and they're still using all the ways of delivering letters and expecting impact, I think it can be reshaped.
Thank you. Do you have an idea of how best it can be transformed, please? You can think about it as John gets to help us know. What do you see out there? John Bosco, JB.
I mentioned about post office, but in my view, I think post office can diversify their offer in terms of like transmitting using either email or social media or some other ways of conveying information than just maintaining the box numbers, expecting income. So they can add on their current products other ways of making money other than just the letters. One of the ways I've mentioned is using digital platforms and other current ways of how to do their business.
Okay, thank you. Can we hear from Abia Grace? Can you think of any conventional businesses out there? And how differently would you like to see things done in that idea of the innovation and creativity? Grace Abia. How would Victor?
An idea.
You said what?
Still thinking of a business idea.
You don't know any business out there? We are now still on the present, how the world looks outside there in the business perspective. You are not yet on the idea. How can you turn things around? That's where we are. Okay, can you hear from Nicholas? There's what? Somebody grabbed the microphone from you? Bernard. Yes? Aruma. Members, you need to know this is the way I take our class attendance and participation. There's one thing of being on the platform and there is one thing of being a participant. And this is an interactive class where I expect your activeness, okay? Thank you.
Sister, can I come in?
Go ahead. And if I don't call your name, just come in. You can put your hand up, okay?
Okay. On the issue of, I wanted to add something on what JB had said. The post office is already including the sending of parcels. For example, if you buy online, let's say in USA, you are able to receive through your post office. So they've already innovated something. I don't know, people who are buying online, you are able to receive through the post office. So I think they improved there. It's no longer just letters. Then also on the company, that could improve. I'm looking at UTL. It is somehow phasing out. And yet it was one of the first companies to provide internet. So if maybe it can improve on its online internet and try to compete with the new coming companies like Liquid and MTN. I submit.
Thank you, Kenneth. So in line with what Kenneth has said and JB said, I want the class to help me understand how do you see the sector in line? Because there is where he said that they have changed and come up with new innovations. There's online, and even there is where I said that the trend, or they are trying to phase out. So how does the industry look like in that aspect, in line to what is going on in the businesses which are dealing with telecommunication services? Who is pouring water? Are you in the bathroom?
Sister, may I say something on
Go ahead, please, Mike.
petition and the ongoing discussion about the post office business? We are looking at really the global trend in as far as technology and all that. So I'm not so sure reviving the post office business really will really gain a competitive edge with the advance in technology and all that, where people can just say, send emails, they get instant responses, they make phone calls, they get instant responses, they connect with the outside world when you're in Uganda. So maybe that is an idea that that is a business may want to really think through how competitive it will be amidst the advanced technology, globally. So that is one in terms of my observation on that. The other business I'm thinking about really from my end is around, we used to have cooperatives. We've had cooperatives, for example, in Eastern Uganda that are engaged in coffee production and all that. We used to have dairy cooperatives. We still have them, but they're not that strong. So, and they have very immense advantages in terms of, combined bargaining power for fair market prices, looking out for markets for their products, but also in terms of accessing, finances to boost up their cooperatives. And they have so many advantages that come with when people are really working in those cooperatives. So I think even recently, my disappointment, government raised money, but still it raised money for those cooperatives, but still money was really swindled by the people who were in charge of that task. So, but if that is really revived, the cooperatives are supported, they are funded, their capacity is enhanced, I would think it comes with lots of advantages by the farmers and also other stakeholders that are involved in different value chains and other production. Thank you.
So thank you very much. What Michael is telling us is to see that cooperatives are a form of businesses, and that is a different sector altogether. And the services that we are providing are essential, but has recognized that there are factors which are impeding the nature of those form of business to successfully operate. And that's where we need to consider when we are trying to get into the renovation, the recreation, the development, what could be done to ensure that if that's the nature of the business you're trying to get into, it is in that sector. How different would you restructure or redesign or even reinvent your business? That is very key, because some factors may be beyond your control, as he has already recognized, but what could be done, because we still need the cooperatives. That's something of thought, okay? I saw the hand of Susan. Was that Susan Chilavo or somebody Chilavo? Then I see Luambo's hand, so please go in that order, okay? Susan? Luambo, you can come in. Susan maybe still, yes, Susan, go. Then Pauline, you come third.
So I think I was coming in. My contribution to the conventional businesses you talked about and the industry of telecommunications at the moment, I believe there's a lot to change, and the telecommunication industry has changed. When we look at my earlier colleague who said UTL can actually get leverage over data. There are companies that have recognized their strengths in some particular categories in order to get way. Previously, there used to be high charges for someone to make calls from let's say one network to a different network. But if you have noticed, Airtel introduced Bona Bundle, where you can actually call. You have more like unlimited calls to any network that you can call. And I believe this gets them leverage when it comes to calling in the telecommunication industry. But then we also notice that we have Leica Mobile that has put its concentration on data services. And they have invested heavily, but also made sure that they give products that are affordable to the people out there, or to the customers. So we noticed that the industry has moved drastically away from just making or minting money from just the calls, the high charges on calls. They have decided to reduce or give us products that enable us to communicate from one network to another. They have also given us data services that are affordable slightly for some networks, and others are still up there. Then also there's been an adjustment in charges on mobile money services from one network to a different network. Because when you notice that Airtel and MTN have actually reduced the charges and they are almost similar to sending to a similar network. So I think moving, they have an entrepreneurial brain behind that is thinking of new ideas, of changing the way they used to work before to how they are working now. And probably UTL can also find its niche in the business by identifying its stronger point, investing in it, and also recovering on others.
Thank you very much. That is very elaborative and very key in relation to the observation. So as others are sharing, for those who are not yet in, I want you also to be thinking of what is causing all these kind of changes that we see in the business sector. So next person, please.
Good morning, Doctor. This is Pauline. I just wanted to add on the issue of the mobile money business, which of course started with MTN and later on also Airtel went into it. And they actually did a lot of innovation in that sector. We started paying school fees, for example, through the mobile money apps. You no longer go to the bank to line up and pay for school fees. They also brought in the aspects you can transfer your money from your bank account to your mobile line. They have brought in an aspect of loans, like the more cash loan, you can even save money and deposit, and then they give you an interest. And depending on your savings, you can it can determine how much you can borrow. And recently, they have also introduced other packages like More Senti, More Pesa, and all these loan packages. Even other banks can give you loans through those packages. Yeah. Also, Airtel has done the same. They have a number of loan packages. So I think there's a lot of innovation in the mobile money business as well. So
thank you. Thank you. Very, very good examples, real life examples, experience. And you can see how businesses are trying to every day think of what they are doing in relation to who is doing what when you're talking about competition. And that's where we need to be. If we are in those sectors, what do we need tomorrow in relation to what is being done today and what is going to happen tomorrow? That's where I want you to be going. Next person, please.
Yes, this is Chirabo.
Yes.
So me, I think I'll talk about education institutions, mostly the higher education institutions like universities and colleges. I think in terms of entrepreneurship, they should be looking at online classes because, you know, most of the students that are joining those institutions are working students. And some people have jobs that are very busy or need to be traveling here and there. So if they put on online classes like Umo has done, someone is not going to be scared of enrolling, because at least if they are to miss classes, they miss like 1 or 2 in the module, because there is an option for online class. Even if they are outside the country, even if they are up country, they will be able to attend class and get whatever is being taught very well. So this will help these institutions to gain more students, because like me, I'll go and tell others, even if you're not at campus, you can attend class. So people will be able to attend, and universities or colleges will gain more students because of this initiative. So this is a good entrepreneurship mind. Then if I'm to comment about post office, because I remember we were in a meeting, I work with NIRA. We're in a meeting and the ED was talking about giving them national IDs to distribute them to different districts. So I think post office, since the letters are outdated, they should think of diversification. Think about other products. Think about other services that they can offer. Look at the organization or institution that have their services or products in different parts of the country, and offer or find a way how they can distribute those services for these organizations, maybe at a cheaper price. Because for now, NIRA is using DHL, and since DHL is a private organization, it might be their prices might be a little bit higher. But since Post Office is a government institution, it can offer to do this job of distributing national IDs at relatively a cheaper price, and they continue living instead of dying out story by story. That's my submission.
Thank you very much, Susan. You see from different discussers, you can see how they are elaborating where innovation is going in relation to the different sectors. We started with telecommunication, we went into financial institutions, now we are in higher education, and the line is going to go on and go on. And you can realize that in every sector they are talking about, there are gaps that have been identified, and there are different mechanisms they are coming up with to see that they remain relevant, not irrelevant, relevant and competitive, because it is becoming tighter and tighter every day. So we who are managers, business entrepreneurs for tomorrow, this is where we need to be focusing on. Thank you. I like those new ideas you're coming up with, because you have identified where the need is and you're coming up to say, this is what we want, this is what it should be. And that's where the business aspect comes in when you're starting your what? Your way to see how things could be and what you need to do. Thank you very much. We have Victor or
Thank you, sister. I just wanted to supplement on the some of the things that we are seeing on the from the post office side as well, under the postal services. We have seen that they have also realized a bit that the environment is moving, and we see them offering services like express courier. We have seen them go into a bit of the internet service space. We have also seen them go into transportation, where they were using their bus services that move the postal the letters to different postal centers to also do transportation. We have seen them acting as mobile as agents for mobile telecom. So I think they have also realized that they need to diversify into other things that then bring them, make them to continue to be relevant. And they're trying to do other things around the infrastructure that they have to be able to continue serving within the market. I submit.
Thank you, Abdul. So in relation to what is coming up here, you realize that they're trying to do different things. The question here you need to ask, or one has to think of, am I doing what I can do better? What is it that makes me sell or hit others? It is very, very important, because you could realize that the post office, maybe it was the first of its own. Now there are so many different other ways of how communication can be done and delivered to the final consumer. But the question could remain, are they still doing, they may not be doing the same things as they did before, but they may be still trying to do almost everything that they did. Then you need to think through them and say, are you able to do all of them at this time? And are you the one who is good at doing ABC? So I'm trying to make you think strategically how you are redesigning or increasing your product line to make sure that whatever you do adds value, because the key is their value in what you are doing to make sure that you are maximizing what the intention of setting the goal or setting the business or the purpose of the business is. If the value is not, then that's where you may be, or the business may be trying to doing try and error. Is on instrument every time is trying, is experimenting. And when we are talking about business aspect, we need to know that it is about efficiency and effectiveness. So in everything you are raising up, it is very, very good, because we are thinking through how best are we doing it to maximize not just the value, but even the purpose as to why we set up this business. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have heard from everybody's hand who is up, unless if somebody has been left out, but I think I like everything what you have said. It is very, very important to think of new ways, to think of diversification, to think of scaling, even to think of the technology. Even when you see that there is that point which was raised by Abdul and said, the environment. Do you understand very clearly? How do you scan the environment to see that whatever you are doing it in understanding what is going on around? Don't just think small here, but put on a microscope to see internal and the external factors for you to be able to come up and to be able to compete with others. So in all that we have been saying, and what we are continuing saying, our focus here is, what do we really mean when we are talking about innovation in entrepreneurship? And if I say what we mean, you need to help me all understand what drives innovation. Chiraba, I see your hand is up. It remained there. Sharita. Chariot. You want to say something? Hello. Yes, Francis.
Yes, I think one of the factors that drives innovation is problem solving. You see there's a problem and you seek to find a solution to it. So you have to find innovative ways and tools to tackle that problem and have an everlasting solution. And in the case you want to take advantage, you can as well put a price to that solution and then reap some profits. I submit.
Thank you. Problem solving. So in relation, you are solving the problem, you are trying not only to solve, but also the end is to make profit out of it. Thank you, Riz. And then Vincent.
Yes, can you hear me? Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday, you're coming in before Riz. So who is who now?
Okay, Sunday, go first. It's okay.
Sunday, you have it.
Thank you. According to me, innovation, I mean doing something in a unique and a different way. Looking at something that's already being done and in place, and then one looks for ways of improving it in a unique way. I'll use an example of fruit vendors like those who vend jackfruits, pineapples, oranges, watermelon, and others alongside the roads and in markets. Someone could go into innovation of that business by adding value onto those fruits, but through processing them and packing them for the customers, so that when the customers come, especially those who are busy and they are lazy at taking them home to, process them for themselves, they find them readily available for consumption. So that would be innovation. You look at something that people are doing, and then you come in with an idea or an aspect of improving it and doing it in a unique and better way than others. So it is a value addition. I beg to submit, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you. Riz, please.
Thank you, sister. My submission is very much in line with what Francis had said earlier, devising new ways to solve recurrent problems and putting a price to them. If I take from the example that Pauline shared earlier about mobile money and the new innovations, the new creative ways that have come up in what initially started as a money transfer venture, but now we are able to, pay school fees. I reflect on that particularly every time schools begin, because we all know that during that time, school fees time, beginning of term, banks were really, really crowded. So how the mobile money came in and just demystified the idea of going to line up in banks was a very good innovation. So for me, I look at it in terms of creating new ways to solve recurrent problems and putting a price to them. Thank you. That's my
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Assumpta.
Thank you so much, sister. For me, I think unexpected situations or occurrences. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic, when it came up, a lot of changes and innovations were carried out. An example is the online teaching that has become massive for every university. A lot of innovations around trade, because you notice that most of the people had to go digital to ensure that they make sales. And not only in food and other sectors, but also medical, where prescription is done and the medicines reach the client without having to move to the hospital or places like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All those are very, very good points. Come up with better ways, improve new and ways of looking at solving problems. Auma.
Yes. Good afternoon, class. And for me, I look at this from a business perspective. I look at it like one of the factors could be competitive pressure from competitors, like business people, different businesses, like competitors, like many businesses now have come up in, you find that most of them are doing similar businesses. So due to the pressure, which is from different competitors, it makes like an entrepreneur to think creatively, and then they look at different ways of being innovative and coming up with different things that would make you come out of doing things or management and way of operation or managing your business in order to outcompete your competitors. I submit.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So basically, Benjamin.
I just found out that the word innovation comes from a Latin verb, innovare, and it means to introduce something new. I think it is just in line with what every member has contributed. I submit.
Thank you for adding value to our technical aspect of that. Okay, so the originality is very, very important, how it came up. Thank you. So basically, what we are all talking about here when we are talking of innovation, it is what Benjamin has. Something was created. And when it was created, it comes to the point when you realize that maybe there is more demand, maybe there is scarcity, maybe it has again created a problem. For example, when you realize that, I think it was Reese who talked about the payment of the school fees. Initially, you needed to take fees to the school where you had to travel and get there. Then they realized that there was some inefficiency in that kind of structure. And then they introduced it to make sure that the banks came up with a service that could improve on the financial management of the institutions. And they opened up bank accounts for the schools and the students and whatever. And then they realized that initially it was working, but as the demand increases, they could not satisfy in relation to the supply to make sure that they are doing it efficiently and effectively. That's when she talked about the lineup. You could stay the whole day and you don't get there. You come back the whole day until when you cannot get there, and then you try to do otherwise. But in that kind of environment, that's when she noted that the telecom mobile services came up with a better thought of seeing how can this service be improved upon. And it is all about banking, it is all about transaction, and it is all about bringing the customer satisfaction. And they invented what it was called mobile banking. You can realize that in the way of opening up mobile banking, they were taking away the market share of the of the financial institutions. So in the way of taking away that share, also the banking sector had to come up with other mechanisms which could even work in relation with with the mobile companies, the telephone companies, the telecom and the financial, to work hand in hand, because that is tight competition. They are all dealing in finance, they are all dealing with the customer. So what I'm trying to see here, in relation to what they are doing, they are all providing a service, but there is still a problem. And the problem is to see how to satisfy that final customer or the consumer of their services. And that's where innovation comes up as a way of better ways of doing the service or the product, better ways of improvement, or better ways of designing, or better. So it comes in when there is a problem, when there is a need, when there is insufficient, where is scarcity, then you need to think of different ways of how you are going to do things in order to continue being in business. Because you realize that the competition is also a factor which can lead to that. Also, there could be other factors. Maybe the government regulations or rules have changed. Maybe the taxes, they have been imposed. That can divert, or it can make people to think differently. So what I'm trying to say here, when you are coming up with a business or the idea, don't think that you are going to be the first of the first to come up with that, unless if it is really something new of its own. But if it is not, you have to analyze or scan the environment and be able to see what is it that you need to see so that you can come up with better ways of improving. And then you turn to be an entrepreneur who does it, or an enterprise who provides that service. In other words, entrepreneurship calls us to be innovative, to think different ways of how to do the things that we did yesterday and be able to improve on the services that we want to get. So innovative entrepreneurship is the practice of establishing, creating new business ideas intending to generate profit or to assist the community and to accomplish the company goals. You can think of innovative or innovation in an entrepreneur who develops a business model to identify or to meet the needs of an organization and improve their competitiveness in the market. So go back to the post office. They have come up with online services. That is innovation, because they realize that it may be costly to travel, it may take a lot of time to deliver, it may not be even safer, but logistically, it can be transferred and get there without being people moving with transport. So it is the same with the banking sector. When you think of how the fees are being paid, it is all innovative ways of how to remain competitive while improving on the services. When we are talking about creativity and innovation, they more or less go hand in hand. But when you look at creativity, you are going to look at devising a new idea altogether. You are thinking of improved efficiency. And yet when you are talking about innovation, it is improving value addition. There is an idea, but how do you increase on its satisfaction? Somebody talked about these fruits which we see. Many of you, I'm sure you have seen how sugar canes have come to be, and jackfruit are now one of the selling fruits on the street, because people who eat them are not just the kids at home, but everybody wants those kind of fruits, and they sort of bring them closer to the consumer by peeling and pack them in the plastic bags and then move them on the street. But somebody else can come up with another better way of how to package or even to sell those fruits, looking at what is being done today. Okay, so that's where entrepreneurship starts. So you have to think of how differently are you going to provide the service? What is the value that you are adding? And the value should be in line with the consumer. Because usually we see for you, you want to start a business to make money, you want to start a business to do whatever. But what value are you adding when you are looking at me, who feels like it is too hot today and I can hardly walk outside? So it is a time for you to think, the fun is not helping me anymore. What is it that you can come up with which can help me feel the environment as it could be? Okay, so you will realize that maybe people come up with cooler, which will cook with the bottle, keeps the water cool, but it is not as heavy as a flask. So it is a time now to think strategically, what do we need for this environment? And when you come up with it, is it only has to be in the house, or it can be flexible, or it can be mobile, or it can be portable? Because the problem is across, and you don't know how soon this problem is going to end, okay? So when you are talking about innovation, we are talking about efficiency, solving the problems. We are talking about cutting costs. We are talking about new technologies, which is changing the business environment and the new production. We are looking at competition, because everything is doing the same thing, but you still need to make money. We are looking at opening up new markets. Where else can you sell? How could you sell? What would you sell? We are looking at diversification of the product and looking at the risks which are involved to ensure that we are not just trying to create or do different things, but we are maximizing the value of what we are selling, okay? So that brings us to think about the nature of entrepreneurship. When you think about entrepreneurship, it is not about people who cannot survive without any. It does not guarantee the certainty of profits for months, sometimes for years. In other words, they are telling us, when you are looking at going into entrepreneurship, You have to forget about, I'm going to make so much money every week, every month. That is not a guarantee, but you have already got into it. So we want to know what keeps them being there. What makes those people unique and what makes them to be successful in that? Because you may think that, okay, they are in business, they have started something, but are they successful? We already talked about initially, remember, are you hardworking? Are you smart? Are you a risk taker? Are you what? So it's the same thing here. It is very, very important. Why we ask this thing, it's not just helping us to know where we stand, but if we are managers, we are going to know whom are we going to bring on board. Are we just bringing people who are to fill up the gap in the business, or are we going to bring people who are going to add value in one way or the other? We looked at those kind of different types of entrepreneurship. So this helps you to know what do you really need in an organization. Because when you're talking about the management and the organization structure, these are very, very key to understand. We need somebody who is this and this. You'll hear that today. There are so many younger students who graduate with distinction and everything, but they are jobless. And that kind of jobless, are you telling me that there's nothing they can do to add to your organization, to add to the business? But why are they not employable? What are they missing? Or what are organizations looking for in order to tap into them before they spend 1 year, 2 years, and they go to look for another degree? Why do they have to keep on changing from one job to another? Because being an entrepreneurship does not necessarily mean you need to start your own, but you need to be of value to add value to the organization and make it more competitive. So when you think about that, and it's not just a matter of salary or whatever, what are those characteristics that we should look into people when we are trying to add value to an organization? Can we name some of those that you think are important and how they could contribute to the organization or to your business? Because if you are going to start a business, yes, you could be the sole one doing your own business, but still you need to get others who will be in line with what you do. So can we name some of the characteristics, please, Nsubuga?
A person should have persistence in terms of they shouldn't easily give up. They should continue their business even if they're making losses or profits, because in the first years one makes like losses. So if a person easily gives up, then they wouldn't be like exactly entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Persistence. So they should have that urge to keep going, knowing that something is going to come up soon or later. Thank you. Others?
Start a business, you should have passion for it.
Yes. Why is passion important? Can you give me an example of a person who could start a business and does not have passion? What would happen?
Basically, you should have passion in order, because most of the people start business to maximize the profits. And if you don't love what you are doing, to be successful as an entrepreneur. It's a me.
Thank you. John.
Yes, you must be a very good risk taker. If you fear risk, then it might not be a good place for being an entrepreneur.
Risk taker in which capacity?
Yeah, what I mean is that once you say you want to go and begin a business, there are very many other things you could have done. So the idea of going to make losses in the first year, like Florence has said, requires a person who has strength to take risks with the hope of a future better progress. Yeah, so for example, once like you are beginning the startup, there are challenges that you will encounter, and also if you are to capture opportunities, you must venture into the unknown, and therefore you must be in a way a person for risk taking.
Good, thank you. Please.
One should be innovative and creative, because one of these days we are in a more of a competitive world. So if you're not creative and innovative, some of your products may never move or may never catch the market. For example, I think most people can see like the tamarind juice. Of recent, I saw Honor also tried to produce that tamarind juice, but if you test with the one of Ukwaji, there's a difference. So I think being more creative and innovative, one can penetrate through the market.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Vincent.
Sister, it is said that passion is very important for business because it is that thing that keeps you going even when the other things are not working out. For example, the profits might not be showing up yet, but you could be encouraged to wake up every day and go back to your business because you love what you're doing. So I think it's very important that you love what you do. But also the other thing I wanted to mention is the resilience. Two things: resilience and then learning on the trade. Resilience is so that if things are not going well, you will bounce back. Maybe, for example, you're in agriculture and this season has beat you for one reason or another. It could be the weather, it could be pesticides, it could be anything, equipment, and then this season doesn't work well. You shouldn't give up, but you try again the next season because it could turn out better. And then on the, I said resilience and learning. Yeah, being able to learn from others who are already in the trade. Those who started it and made it, how did they get there? What did they do differently? Or what can you learn from them, or what can you do differently? I think those are important for an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you, Riz. That's very good, elaborative and practical experiences in relation to what these people do. Thank you. Yes, Precious. Then Florence.
I think they should be risk takers, like they should be able to tolerate risks, because when you're starting a business, you may not know what will happen later on.
Yeah. Florence, you said yours, that is Suga. You already mentioned?
Okay. Sister, can I make a submission? This is Michael.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so I really want to speak through experience that being an entrepreneur is not something that is easy. And I really want to share my personal experience. I started a small grocery shop in 2022. So for a start, it performed well. I could make like 500,000 a day and all that, because I had mastered the taste and the preferences and what really the customers wanted, and also how they wanted to be served. And then all of a sudden, I got someone who came and said, you need to change this and that, and yeah. So someone changed the strategy, changed the approach, and I started making losses. Actually, for the first 1 year, I did well, but for the second year, I'm struggling. So it really, really calls for knowing the tastes and the preferences of the customers and being able to meet their demands. The other aspect is really around financial management, making sure that you manage the finances of the business and separating them from your personal resources, which has also somehow affected me. The other aspect is really having the right people in the business, but also paying a keen eye onto the business, because if you leave it in the hands of the workers, you definitely make losses and you lose interest. So aspects around financial management, having the right people in the business, but also supervising them is very important. And the other that I can mention is also knowing your competitors. I think Liz already talked about that. Competition is good, but can also kill you if you are not able to respond to the prevailing circumstances and what people really want. So you need to know who are your competitors and how do you really override them. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, Michael. Thank you. Very, very good experience, and thank you for sharing. That's what we need, because in our class, we have students from different, maybe disciplines, different organizations who may not have such experience. So it's important whatever you have can share, and whatever we share remains in this in this classroom, because it is good for our learning. I appreciate that. Can we hear from others? I see Leticia.
Yes, good morning, sister. Good morning, class. I would like to supplement on what Michael has said, because I was going to share something like that. An entrepreneur must have money management skills on the way. If you don't have them in the beginning, somehow, somewhere, you have to have them. From the fact of being risk-taking, obviously, when you're going in to be an entrepreneur, you're going to take a risk, but a risk means you're putting your money there, but you don't know what is there. Or even if you know what is there, you're not sure of the rate of return that you're getting from the business. But coupled with everything that everyone has said, the resilience, the motivation, actually for private businesses, it is being self-motivated like every day. Yourself, leave alone the motivation that we get from other people. Because you go to your business today, things are not working out. You're not going to go everywhere telling people things are not working out, but you have to have that inner self-motivation that pushes you. And then maybe something else that now as the trends are changing, you must know that you are operating within authorities. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have URA, that is an authority that will come in, not take what you have, but you have to give a percentage of your profits to them. There is legality of what you're doing, because sometimes you can even do a business not knowing that it's illegal. I've seen someone who wanted to do a beach. They had the land, but then NEMA comes in to say, you have to give me 200 meters from the waters to start your business. So entrepreneurship today, like you have discussed and all the other people, you have to know that you're not going to stand alone. You have forces that are pulling you in and out, that you have to work with. The state as the state, you're not just going to do anything you want, but you have to get to learn how to work with them in any way, in addition to all the other aspects that people have given. I submit, sister.
Thank you, Leticia. Very elaborative, very practical, very true, very true. Thank you. Who hasn't said anything? I see the hands which are still.
Can I say something?
Please, go ahead.
Yes, mine is they make smart decisions.
Please mute some young lady there. Mute.
So
Go
and
ahead.
successful entrepreneurs make smart decisions. So before they make any decision, they have to first think through it, and every move is well calculated. Yes, they take risks, but before taking that risk, they also have to calculate and see whether it's worth taking. So I can give an example of Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Meta or Facebook as we know it. At the infantry of his organization, someone approached him and wanted to buy out his company, but he decided not to buy because decided not to sell because he had his vision. He knew what exactly how his business is going to look like in the future, and the rest is history. So they make smart decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Isaac, is that Isaac?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Naika, you want to wrap it up?
Yes, sister, thank you. One important characteristic of an entrepreneur is that they have to be adaptable and flexible so that they are able to pivot their strategies and approaches in response to the changing market conditions, emerging trends, and new opportunities, so that they embrace the natural part of, they embrace that natural part of entrepreneur like it's part of their journey. Then another thing, an entrepreneur has to have the ability to delegate and empower others. So entrepreneurs also need to recognize the importance of delegation and also build a strong support system to make sure that their visions and goals are reached and the organization can grow very well to a wider scope. Like the example of Morana, I think that is what he did. Even though he died, his organization, his company is still going on. So those are the two characteristics I needed to talk about.
Thank you. Thank you. The characteristics are many. The discussion has opened up some of the key areas or attributes or qualities or skills that we need to have in order to be successful enterprise, to be successful people who are managing their business. You heard very, very well the example which was given by one of our friends who was in the retail business. You realize that they talked about the passion. The passion is the interest, the desire, that inner desire. It may not be the external because the motive may be internal and external. But the internal is very, very important because the external, if it is just money, and if the money is not there, you're going to give up. And when you give up, you lose up that element of resilient and persistent because your confidence will go down. And then you say, you don't have any clear vision. You don't even have a direction of where to go. So it is very, very important when you take the risk, as I said, the risk is not just to get into the land and you start something, but the risk is the investment you're making. You're putting in your money, and your money, you just do not know whether it will make profit or not, but you calculate and you say, well, let me invest so much, it may be able to. And if it does not bring up at least 100%, you are very clear. You can manage the loss and forego what you have foregone. That's where you need to be very clear. Mr. James, please. You need to be very clear as when it comes to what? To deciding, making a decision on what you are investing in or in what you are going to start up, so that you have it very, very clearly mapped up. They have talked about innovation and creativity. You have always to be thinking out loud. Thank you. You have always to be thinking out loud. It is like you have this baby. It's not like mothers, you know, when you have already got the baby out and then you forget. You realize those who get the babies, some of them dump them. They are not responsible. They just dump them to whom it may concern. That's not the entrepreneur's what spirit. The mindset has to be set to be able, yes, whatever the case may be, I'm going to take it. And you take it knowing it is a financial management aspect. It is a people management aspect. It is a legal aspect. So to ensure that whatever you do is in line with what is required to make sure that the business is operating according to the standards of the businesses, wherever you are, whether it is international or whether it is locally. If you don't have the skills for finance, that's when you need to get consultants. You need to seek out help so that you don't look like you are independent because you are the owner, but you need to get out to get the support that you need. Also, you need to understand the challenge. You don't always just think it is going to be butter and honey. It's not. Business is a risk because there are always going to be challenges. You have had a friend telling you that started with money, but money could not get any further and had to every day study. It's the same thing. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a founder of a school which is existing now 10 years. But in those 10 years, I have to tell you, it is not easy. It's come to the point when you realize now we have got in, and then you get these teachers who are just there to corrupt the system. They're just after money. They're not performing. And that's when you need to put your feet on the ground to know what is going. You have put in the money and you realize that the money is going to do ABCD. And you get to the ground. They have not even done it. They have put in fake things. They have put in things which are going to, if it is repair and whatever, they say, yeah, we have fixed this and this. In 2 days, 4 days, it is broken. And you're like, what? What? Yes, sister, this is how things are these days. My friend, those are the challenges. But if you're an entrepreneur, you don't give up. You have to see what is it that did not work. And that's where the learning comes into. You have to be open to learn. You have to be open to adapt and to change. So that from the mistakes or from the damages, what can you do different to keep on going? And also they talked about the competition. The competition is very tight, not only in the retail business, but when you come into the education sector, they have now education from 3 months. Even I think they'll have 1 day, from 1 day to how many years. So that is all opportunities people are tapping into to know that there are people who cannot stay home. Their maids have become also to be a problem. So I better take this to an institution which will be minding and caring for the baby. That is a competition whereby you need always to be thinking, what are they thinking about doing? Because if you sit and you say, yes, this is what we do well, you're going to say, yeah, the school we started, it is where it is performing. When people are moving from daycare to the swimming pool, now they bring the mall, and the mall is just within the school. And now they have moved even from pocket money in the box. Now the pocket money is on the card. You see where everything, that is the competition. And as the competition comes in, your passion drives you to see, what can I do to ensure that you are knowledgeable about everything that needs. You keep on learning, you keep on developing the capacity, you keep on redesigning so that you are able. And even another one talked about what? Talked about the delegation, that it should not only you thinking that you have to do everything. That may be very good, that you have to do everything, but you may be exhausted. Entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur, it is very stressful, very, very stressful. So being the owner does not necessarily mean that you have to do all the work. You need to understand how to delegate, but delegation does not take away your responsibility to be accountable for everything that needs to be done. So when we are talking about different characteristics, you need to think of even the attitude. Not only your attitude to look at the business, but the attitude of the people that you're getting, so that you remain positive. That's where we say you have to be optimistic. If you are pessimistic, every problem, every challenge which comes is going to take away your energy, and you not have the morale to wake up and go back and open the shop, to go back and check on the employees, to go back and look at the garden, because You found the insects have eaten everything. You just put in a lot of money now, so what? You start another business tomorrow. How long are you going to be jumping from one business to another? So what we are trying to say here, to be successful in this business, there are so many factors. There are so many things that you need to embrace. You need to get out of yourself and be able to fit in with the richness of what we see on the screen. You have that open mind. The open mind is a mind which will conceive but perceive what is essential for the business. You have to be confident, because if you are not confident, your esteem will go and then you die. You have to be honest. You have realized businesses which start, but they collapsed, and I know our system here is dying of corruption. Please, you have to be honest in order for people to trust you, to know that you are credible in everything that you are doing, because the competition is too tight. Don't fake to think you are giving me honey juice, whatever, or you are giving me apple juice. When you are not giving me apple juice, you are not just giving me colored juice. That is not very important. Think about the competence, the commitment. So all these are some of the what? The characteristics that we need to develop. And if you have not developed them, still you can. There is room. Don't just say that, entrepreneurs are born. That could be they are born, but if they are not able to apply what they are born with, then there is no good out of it. They have to develop and be able to apply. Then it can remain to say they are useful to the society. Otherwise, yeah, that family, they know how to do things. It does not sell. It does not make sense, because when your father or your mother dies, you may realize that it is not heritage which matters. It is what you put in that matters to make things move on without them, okay? So these are some of the characteristics in relation to what you have mentioned. Then we have to think about, when we look at the entrepreneur, does it mean that an entrepreneur is automatically a manager? And if it is not automatically a manager, could there be a difference between the manager and the entrepreneur? And if so, what could that be? How do we look at managerial and how do we look at entrepreneur? Could there be a similarity or could there be a difference? What differentiates them? James, ask your peers to discuss this. Coordinate, moderate. James Mwesubwa, moderate the discussion for this. Is James there? If James is not there, or he's trying to say, what am I going to moderate? I'm going to give it to Mugisha. Mugisha, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, sister.
Can you moderate the discussion for this slide, please?
Yes, I can try.
Thank you.
Now looking at the question, is the entrepreneur and manager the same? Definitely they are not the same, but they have some similar traits. I don't know if here I can bring the other aspect where we talked about entrepreneur. Like entrepreneur and entrepreneur, they have some similar traits, and I believe the managers always fall in this category of entrepreneur. They are all leaders. I would say they are all leaders. However, an entrepreneur could be a risk taker, and a manager may sometimes differ. Some managers could be good managers without taking risk. However, entrepreneurs always take risks. that could be a difference.
Engage your colleagues.
Any other person who can come in? JB, you always have some ideas on these things.
Yeah, I can have some ideas here. I think normally the managers are normally administrators of the plans of the entrepreneur who is normally an innovator. So if like for smaller businesses, the entrepreneur would be innovating the long-term direction of the company, and the manager will normally be trying to execute what has been put in place. That's why it links to the question of the risk taking. One is risk taker, one is risk averse, because you are working under someone's vision. I guess like Murwana had on his businesses, he has the managers. They just are the batteries, the plastics. They have managers, and there are things which somebody as a manager cannot do without asking the entrepreneur for permission. Yeah, so that's the kind of comment I can give. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JB. In the text, I can see Michael Muhumza is trying to comment. They are not the same. Could you, Michael, elaborate on that?
Yeah, thank you, Ken. From my experience, I think managers really are comfortable working in a conventional environment where they implement policies, making sure the people are working with adhere to policies and all that. They are not really comfortable working in a very ambiguous environments like entrepreneurs. And in entrepreneurship, you're really looking at things that really change on a daily basis. And how do you cope up with that changing environment? Like Victor already mentioned about that. How do you cope up with the ever-changing environment, competition, innovation, and to keep up the pace in terms of your business being able to meet the demands of your customers, making sure that you keep it afloat and it's not being, swept off by what is happening. So I must strongly say that the managers and the entrepreneurs are not the same. But of course, they're an entrepreneur, so you need to have some bit of leadership skills and all that, but they cannot be the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm seeing also Liz. Liz, you can go ahead.
Thank you, colleagues. I think that entrepreneurs and managers are different, but I also think that they can be the same. I will elaborate more on why I think so. If I'm looking at a small business, a sole proprietorship, for example, the entrepreneur, the dream bearer, the one who brings the one whose idea it is, might as well be the same person that is managing it on a daily. But if I'm looking at a business that is gone beyond a sole proprietorship, it's probably grown like the Mulwanas we may be talking about, then I look at the idea, the person behind the idea as different from the one that is implementing it on a daily. So and then I also think that in some entities, an entrepreneur might need a manager to carry to run the business. So I think they can be the same for a small entity, but for a bigger entity, probably they wouldn't be the same. That's my submission.
Thank you very much, Liz. Is there any other member who could oppose what Liz has said? Because basically, maybe for me, I would say a manager still can be the same as the owner. That is true what you say. And then for bigger entities, still a manager, could be still the owner. However, maybe it could be helped by other people in different departments. Lydian, I saw your hand. Could you come in on that? Lydian Nancy.
Yes, I'm on.
Yes.
To me, yeah, I would say they are not the same. Whereby an entrepreneur is typically the founder of a business or startup, whereby he could be responsible for identifying opportunities, will be a risk taker and driving innovation. But for a manager, he usually hired or appointed to oversee the daily operations of the business. Like you also, you can see the manager of entire team. So for you, it's oversee the head of business of entire and run ensure that the business runs efficiently. Another thing, focus on long-term growth and strategic decisions with the day-to-day tasks and implementation. I submit.
Thank you very much, Lydian. I'm seeing the hand of Senkungu Livingston. Senkungu.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Me, in my observation, I think an entrepreneur and a businessman, they're the same in terms of taking decisions. A businessman might do it at a micro level, in terms of putting resources together and all that. However, an entrepreneur might do it at a micro level, at a macro level, or especially dealing with the bigger challenges. If you look at capital, if you look at generally the resources in terms of in which injects in the business. So I think they're the same in terms of decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senkungu. Any other member who has any submission?
Kenneth, I can add something about the need that, the need that both the entrepreneurship skills and skill for management are required, because the manager executes, entrepreneur does those things you have mentioned: innovation, risk taking, ownership, etc. So ideally, in a good business which is running well, you need both skills to run, either in one body or in two different forms. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JB. In conclusion, what I can say is any entrepreneur, at first he has to be a good manager, or he has to be a manager, because at the start you find most businesses, they are started by one person, and is the one person who is doing everything, managing the whole business as it grows. So as the business grows, he needs help, maybe in different departments. So he employs managers to help him run. So all in all, an entrepreneur must be a businessman if he's to be successful. I submit, sister.
Thank you very much. I think you did a wonderful job, and I thank your team, your colleagues, for being supportive so that they didn't leave the platform just for you. I think you have done a very good critique on that when we are looking at entrepreneur and managerial. These are some more or less, when you think of an entrepreneur as our friend has said, Kenneth, the entrepreneur has to be a manager in order to do the business in a way of a managerial aspect. And when you look at the manager, much as you may think is doing the job, as JB said, is trying to execute or taking the responsibility of ensuring that whatever has been assigned or entrusted to him is handled well. So as you see the different elements here, for the entrepreneur, there is that kind of risk which is very, very key, is the one who invests. And the investment is done to see that there is what? There is profit. For the other one, he's trying to ensure that he takes control to administer or to execute what is expected in order for an organization to achieve its goal. So for this one who takes the startup as very, very important, the other takes the importance more on the operation. The motivation, much as it is all there, but the motivation of the entrepreneur is high because he has to make sure that everything goes in is on his what? On his shoulder. Yet the manager is to ensure that he fulfills what has been assigned to him to achieve the goal, and that's what gives him the power when we are looking at that. So there is that kind of creativity when you think of the entrepreneur, and there is that kind of approach to task which is required for the form. What is it that I have to do for the manager? And that's where the description is very, very formal. Yet this one, it is self-described of what is supposed to do. So what is important about this is to understand, as you said, there's some similarities and there's some differences. When you start an organization, you mentioned about the small scale and the large scale, because you're going to see those which are small, those which are medium, and those which are large are corporation. All those are entrepreneurs. And for small, it may not necessarily require managerial responsibilities as it may be the medium or the what? Or the large scale enterprise. So it is very, very important for an entrepreneur to understand clearly what is the form or the nature of the managers that you are engaging into your organization. Because if they are not the risk takers, if they cannot be able to set and execute the goals as it should be, your business may end up declining or failing simply because what is required of the manager is not what you are getting. And that's where it is very, very important for you. If you are the owner, you are the founder, you are the entrepreneur, you need to embrace the managerial roles so that you are not just delegating them, but you are fully understanding and executing along with the managers. That's where you realize that sometimes there is micromanagement because you are trying to ensure that whatever you set is not failing, or whoever is doing the job is not failing you because they know they are just for money, they are just for what is assigned for them, but they are not understanding every risk that you are going through to make this business stay. Are we together? So these are some of the similarities, differences. They are all doing work, but at which level is very, very important. They may not work so hard because they are counting hours, and for you need to put in everything. Even when it comes to the responsible, they say, you know, we tried everything, but we did not make the sales, simply because they only thought what they did was the best. But for you, you need to understand what is the challenge or what was the cause and what is the customer feedback is all about. That is very, very important. Not to say the entrepreneur, you a manager. So you cannot just sit there and you leave it to the managers to do. You need to be having a clear understanding of what is going on in relation to the structures that you set. That is the key in relation to this line, okay? So significantly, the difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman comes in here. When you think of a businessman, for the entrepreneur, there is that unique concept of starting or developing the idea. Yet the businessman also can set up a business in a new entrant in an existing market, and that is can or may, but may not necessarily take up the initiative to come up with the idea or the concept. You remember when we talk of the industrial entrepreneur, we talk of all these trading. So they are business people, but their approach may be very different, much as they are all trying to do what? To do business and enjoy the what? Enjoy the profits. They are all doing finance, marketing, leadership. Business operation is very, very key, and the mindset. Entrepreneur risk is very key, and the approach when it comes to the leadership, the imagination, the persistence, the innovation, everything you said, okay? So why I'm saying this, you may have to ask, why did this business fail and yet this business is still? Maybe one was just a businessman and another one is what? An entrepreneur. So those are some of the things that we need to understand clearly. It can all look like they're in business, but the approach and the operation and the management can lead to disaster, okay? Because you realize as an entrepreneur, you don't live. You die with your business, and you struggle to ensure that you understand what is going on day in and out. It is the same thing. I can give you an example. I've told you an example of the school I founded as a director. I'm in the know of everything that is going on, not in a way of micromanaging, but ensure that I'm monitoring and giving guidance in a way of to ensure that things are done well. Because I realized that the time when I started and I delegated, the delegation comes in when you have the board and then when you have the head teacher and the school management. So with the school management and the board, you realize that things are going to go and you sit back and you relax. That can be a loophole. The director, it requires that you always have to be in the know of what is going on to ensure that wherever there are loopholes, you are able to grow it and make them come back online to see how things should be moving, because these people you bring may have their own agendas, may be trying different things, may be just managers, but they don't really understand the risks and they don't measure or even calculate to the level as to how you could see it. So that you are not just looking at the staffing, you are looking at the finance, you are looking at the competition, you are looking at the environment, you are looking at everything. So you have that big eye to oversee the operation of the institute in regards to how you found it. And that's whereby you realize that most of the time, it comes in when everything is put together. So that's what I'm trying to say. The business is a business setup, but the operation and the management may not per se have the clear vision as to why or how the founders have in mind. So it is very, very important to keep that in what? In mind. Well, we don't have much time. I think you go for lunch, but let us end with this. We have seen about entrepreneurship. We have looked at the characteristics, and we have now realized that there are those businesses and entrepreneurs, and we have seen where they similar and differ. Now they are telling us that entrepreneurship does not mean sticking to conventional business. It implies creating new things. And it emphasizes not merely an idea generation, but also an promotion and implementation of new business environment. So my question is, what factors impede the growth of entrepreneurship? Knowing that we have everything, we know what we need, and we try. What are those factors that you may think that in Uganda is known for being an entrepreneur country, but still they don't persevere, or they don't even stand through to grow their business. So what are some of the factors that we need to think through as young or as developers of new businesses that can impede the growth of our enterprises? JB, moderate. JB, are you there? Yes, Vincent. I thought JB is going to moderate, but JB is not moderating. I'm going to ask.
Sorry, I was off, but I'm now back. I don't know whether I can give an input.
Give an input and then engage the class, okay?
Okay, thank you, Doctor. My input on that is that most businesses lack finances. So the resource to start the business and to manage it, its working capital, can be a big factor in Uganda because currently we have very high interest rates in banks, and also the owners tend to use their own initial capital. And given the current level of growth in the country, our available resource envelope is not much. So most entrepreneurs are limited by resources or the initial capital. Second thing, the competition. There is too much stiff competition because people tend to copy each other. So you find very many similar tail shops selling clothes, selling similar items, and therefore there is a head-to-head competition. And in that way, you find that some businesses close in the first few months because of failing to get customers. So we can have other members comment. We can hear from Father Vincent.
Thank you. The other impediment is that of it's a business environment that is not favorable. It encompasses some of the elements that JB has already mentioned, but it goes way to also cover the political climate in terms of the political environment being favorable to entrepreneurs in case there are no wars going on. And this also goes in the area of the administrative structure. In case the administration in an area or in a country favors the growth of entrepreneurship, for example, by giving them tax holidays, by dispensing them from some of the requirements like paying licenses, such factors would favor them. But in case they are not in place, then the growth of entrepreneurship will be impeded because these entrepreneurs will be struggling to mobilize startup resources. But just in case this is faced with demand for license and taxes, then their growth will be impeded and they will be stamped down. I submit.
Thank you, Father Vincent. We can have Shire next.
Hello, good afternoon. My submission is market for the products that the entrepreneur produces. You find that the market base could be low since there are several players in the market. So we are hindered by where you sell the product and where to find the buyers. I could also look at some social factors like religion. You'll find that certain players will not buy certain products. Say the animal, the P1G, there are certain players, or it cannot be sold out to certain category, also based on religion, that will also hinder the growth. Maybe suppose you're in that industry that is supplying that product, it will hinder as much as you make innovations. You package it, you do what, you deliver it to the customer, but still there is that sector that will not purchase that product, so as to widen your market. I submit.
Thank you, Shire. We can go to Robert Biarhanga. Then from Robert, we'll go to Michael and then Francis, in that order. Robert, your hand was up. Okay, then we can go to the next.
My contribution is on infrastructure. If you have inadequate infrastructure such as power road networks, inadequate utilities, this can hinder the growth of entrepreneurship. Then the second one would be on lack of the skills and knowledge about the business you're going to start, skills related to management, skills related to marketing, skills related to finance and operations. This one can also contribute or impede the growth of entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Robert. Michael, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, JB, for moderating us. So I think from my perspective, business operations really in Uganda, in terms of the operation environment and all that, is really not enabling enough. Not enabling enough. I think government continues to prefer people, or rather investors from abroad, giving them tax holidays, giving them more, land. But Ugandan will never get such kind of opportunities, which is very strange. Even aspects around accessing finance. In Uganda here, you find that the opportunities that are known to a few people, financing opportunities that are known to a few people, and those few people actually benefiting from them. But in terms of the larger picture, the Ugandans, how many know, for example, there's financing that goes through UDB, there's financing that goes through different entities. How many people know those kind of opportunities? So in terms of accessing information about the available financing options, is still a challenge. For example, just a couple of weeks ago, I moved around to seek for financing of my project I want to put in place. But the requirements were so immense that I couldn't even comprehend. I couldn't proceed. So I think the environment is not enabling enough for Ugandans to get into entrepreneurship. The government is not creating that enabling environment. Access to information in terms of financing options is not really readily available. It is only available to those that actually are known, and they utilize those opportunities. Thank you.
Michael, can hear from Kenneth and then lastly Jane.
Thank you very much, JB. My issue is on the market. First and foremost, inferiority complex, whereby our fellow Ugandans, you produce something and they will tell you, so they end up buying something like made from Germany. For example, if you look at paracetamol made from Uganda, people tend to prefer the one made in UK. However, that impedes the entrepreneur of quality chemicals who's making that paracetamol. And then point number two, the ability to produce in mass or mass production. Most entrepreneurs their capacity is a bit lower. For example, if you make an order of maybe 1,000 loaves, they tell you, so you keep on coming while they don't have stock. So this will impede them. That means you won't come back. I submit. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. To manage time, I'm giving 2 minutes each to Jen and Beatrice, and we conclude. Jen, 2 minutes, Beatrice, 2 minutes.
Thank you, JP. So my point is that as an entrepreneur, your growth can be intended by that is something that I just put affected by the community or if your products are not affected by that community or society, your growth will be intended. And also talk about the available market. If your product cannot be afforded by the customers, the growth will be intended. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Beatrice?
Thank you, JB. I'm talking about risk aversion. Fear of failure and risk can discourage individuals from pursuing the entrepreneurial endeavors. For instance, concerns about financial stability, societal expectations, and personal liabilities may deter potential entrepreneurs from taking the leap into starting their own business. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. Before I hand over to sister, there are colleagues on the online that have submitted Teddy about fear of risk, and also Naiga on unlimited education, skilling, Remy Kasozi about trust and continuity of businesses and succession planning, then Rosemary, corruption, and also Max on political environment. Yeah, so over to you, sister.
Thank you very much, JB, for moderating the discussion, and for members what you have stated. Basically, when you look at what impeded business growth, you have hit it right. Starting from the government environment, I think, I don't know who said it very clearly. The government sets those kind of grants or whatever, but the information is not provided to the beneficiaries. Only few get to know, and even when they try to get through to get it or to apply for it, it does not make it easy. And that can be a big problem when you are trying to make the development of the country. When you talk about the market, it's the same thing. When you realize that the preferences and tastes of the consumers are continuously, regularly changing, you can become a little bit confused what you can do when you are dealing with people who are going to despise what you bring to the market. It is very, very clear. The attitude of our people here, you may realize, as I once said, anything made from Uganda and come from Uganda, they may look as if it is not a variable. And that should have a genesis. How did that come to? And how are we going to change that attitude of the consumer market or consumer behavior to make sure that we are able to sell it? When it comes to the politics into the government, you realize also it's the same factor. You have clearly identified how investors are treated in regards to the local investors here. It is those differentiation discourage the entrepreneurship and brings in the fear for some people to say, why should I take the risk? Or how could I go into this? So why we are talking about all these things in addition to competition is for you to know before you invest, what is it that's going to help you be successful, and what are the challenges that are likely to impede or affect your business. You are looking into scanning the environment to understand better before you make the decision. So it is a decision kind of perspective that you are taking to analyze the environment, to understand, yes, you have a business idea, you realize there is a problem, you know that you have the capacity to solve that problem, you know you have the finance, the infrastructure may not be. So before you go into investment, it is very, very important that you scan clearly the environment to understand everything said here, that you will be able to map it well and get your business off and run it well. Because if you don't do this, and if you don't have your map or your plan clearly set up, you come in the middle of the implementation or running of your business and you're stuck. And you said, now, so what? And that's where we entrepreneurs, we have to calculate. You make the calculation of the risk, how much is the risk, and how prepared you are able to go through everything, and then you invest wisely. And you take on that idea which you think is viable, is feasible, to get the finance, to beat the competitors, to get the market, the social and cultural factors, the skills you have it, you name it, everything that you are able to conquer and run your business effectively. So this section is to help us think through, and knowing that you know them is very, very well. Please help that young lady to know we are still on, okay?
Helen.
Then olina okubeera ne business ng'eruddeyo okumala emyezi 6 n'okweyongerayo, then ojje ku branch tulinako ba loans officers baffe bajja kuyamba.
Helen Chasimide, please.
This is one of the reasons why we are discouraging online classes. People are in class and doing their own things, and learning is not happening. So you need, I think, in your own circles, try to talk about professionalism. To be credible, we are talking about credibility here. Now, what image do I have about that person? I don't know. He's in banking. He's talking about loans, and he's already discrediting herself. You know, it doesn't look good. Respect your audience. And if you're dealing with business, you are the loser. You're not just going to say, you know, I covered that class, but you come out empty as you entered, which is very unfortunate. You're cheating yourself. Those are soft skills we talk about, you know. How do you, I don't know, but it's unfortunate, very unfortunate that you take advantage of the system and you deny others opportunity. I'm sorry that I had to go into that, but we are encouraged to help the learners to know that learning only happens when you are fully engaged into learning. So please, class rep, help your class, because this may be happening. And that's the reason why online we are discouraging it. Students sign on and they go for other things. And it's not the intention why we do online. What? Learning, okay? And those are the people who dare say anything in class. They are there to fill the platform, you count the numbers, but they have not done anything. You don't know even they are there until when they miss the marks. That's when you'll hear them shouting. My friend, watch out what you do, especially when you are at this level of a master. Thank you very much. So I think I'm going to end the class here on that note. And when we come back, we shall see how far we can go. But these are the kind of issues or factors that impede the growth of entrepreneurship. Some of them you have already talked about them, but also this can be added on your list, okay? finance, fear, whatever. So I think we are going to go for lunch right now. And then we'll come back at what time? At 2. Yes?
2 is okay, sister.
All right, so
It's okay.
Go for lunch and then come back at 2. And when we come back at 2, we shall be talking about a business plan. That's when we shall start the real stuff, and it will be in the business plan, which is required for this class for the successful completion of. So as you discuss or as you talk about what is a business plan, why is it important, and then we come back and touch base. Thank you very much. Have a good lunch. I see you at 2, okay?
Thank you, sister.